At my son's grand opening celebration for his new real estate office, he smashed my late wife's wooden jewelry chest against the marble floor. This worthless junk is embarrassing me in front of my investors. My 8-year-old granddaughter stood frozen, watching her grandmother's handmade gift shatter into pieces. I said nothing. I knelt down and gathered every broken fragment while 100 guests pretended not to see. 3 days later, the antique restorer examined the splintered wood. His hands started trembling. "Sir," he whispered, "do you have any idea what your wife hid inside this chest?" Hello and welcome to today's story. If you enjoy the content we share, please show your support by liking, subscribing, and letting us know where you're watching from in the comments. This story contains dramatized elements for educational purposes. Any resemblance to real individuals is coincidental, but the message about family, greed, and redemption is very real. "This worthless junk is embarrassing me." My son's voice echoed across the polished floors of his new downtown office. I stood there, holding a wooden chest that my wife Martha had spent 6 months carving before the cancer took her strength completely. I'm Walter Bennett, 67 years old, retired master carpenter from Knoxville, Tennessee. I spent 40 years building furniture with my hands, and I raised my son to appreciate craftsmanship and hard work. Somewhere along the way, I lost him to something I still don't fully understand. Derek's grand opening party filled his sleek Nashville office with developers, investors, and politicians. Men in expensive suits, women dripping with jewelry. I wore my Sunday best, a brown jacket Martha bought me for our 40th anniversary. It felt shabby here among all this money. "Dad!" Derek spotted me the moment I walked in. His smile was sharp, calculated. "What are you carrying?" "Your mother's jewelry chest." "For Lily." Martha wanted her to have it. His jaw clenched. "This really isn't appropriate timing." "Grandpa!" Lily's voice cut through the crowd. My granddaughter ran toward me, her blonde pigtails bouncing, her eyes bright with excitement. "Is that Grandma's special box? The one she made?" I knelt down to her level. "Your grandmother carved this herself, sweetheart. She wanted you to have it when you were old enough to treasure it. Can I see inside, please?" Before I could respond, my daughter-in-law Kristen appeared. Tall, blonde, with the kind of polished beauty that costs serious money to maintain. "Lily, honey, that old thing doesn't match your room. We'll get you something nicer from Pottery Barn, but Grandma made it for me." Lily's lower lip trembled. Derek stepped forward, his face reddening. "Dad, I told you not to bring your sentimental garbage to my business events. This is a professional gathering. These people invest millions. They don't need to see some amateur woodworking project. Your mother spent 6 months on this chest." I kept my voice steady. She carved it by hand even when she could barely hold the tools. "Mom's gone." Derek's voice dropped to a hiss. "It's time to let go of the past. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing me." He grabbed the chest from my hands. I watched his fingers wrap around the wood. Martha had sanded smooth with her own trembling hands during those final months. "Derek, please. This worthless junk is embarrassing me in front of my investors." He turned toward the crowd, holding up the chest like evidence of something shameful. "My father thinks handmade crafts belong at a professional event. Can you believe it?" Scattered laughter rippled through the room. My face burned. Then Derek did something I'll never forget. He raised the chest above his head and smashed it against the marble floor. The wood splintered with a sound like bones breaking. Pieces scattered across the polished stone. Lily screamed. A genuine, heartbroken scream that silenced the entire room. "There." Derek brushed his hands together. "Problem solved. Now, who needs a refill on champagne?" I watched my granddaughter collapse to her knees, gathering broken pieces of her grandmother's final gift while her father turned his back and laughed with investors. I said nothing. I knelt beside Lily and helped her collect every fragment, every splinter, every piece of Martha's love that had been scattered across that cold floor. "It's okay, sweetheart," I whispered. "Grandpa will fix it. I promise." Derek's voice carried across the room. "Someone get them out of here. This is pathetic." A security guard approached apologetically. "Sir, I'm sorry, but Mr. Bennett has asked me to escort you out. Lily clutched the broken pieces against her chest, tears streaming down her cheeks. I took her hand and walked toward the elevator, carrying what remained of Martha's gift. As the doors closed, I heard Derek's voice one last time. Sorry about that, folks. My father's not quite right in the head anymore. Old age, you know. We're looking into care facilities. The drive back to Knoxville took 3 hours. Lily fell asleep in the passenger seat, still holding the broken wood. I drove through the darkness, my mind replaying Martha's final words to me. Walter, that chest holds everything Lily will need. Promise me you'll give it to her. Promise me you'll protect her if Derek becomes what I fear he's becoming. I promised. I just didn't understand what she meant until 3 days later. My workshop hadn't changed since Martha passed 18 months ago. Same sawdust smell, same tools hanging in perfect order, same workbench where we'd spent countless hours together. I laid out the broken pieces of the chest, examining each one under my work lamp. The damage was severe but not hopeless. 40 years of carpentry had taught me that almost anything could be restored with patience and skill. But as I examined the base of the chest, something caught my attention. The bottom panel was too thick. A standard jewelry chest has a 1/4-inch base. This one was nearly an inch. Martha hadn't made that kind of amateur mistake in 30 years. I called Henry Patterson, my oldest friend and the finest antique restorer in Tennessee. We'd known each other since high school, built our first pieces of furniture together, stood as best men at each other's weddings. Henry arrived within the hour, his white hair wild, his magnifying glasses already perched on his forehead. He examined the broken pieces with the same intensity he'd brought to every project for 50 years. "This is beautiful work," he murmured. "Martha's craftsmanship was always exceptional. But you're right, Walter. This base is wrong." He ran his fingers along the splintered edges, probing gently. Then, he found something. A tiny wooden pin hidden in what looked like decorative carving. He pressed it. The thick base panel separated into 2 layers, revealing a hidden compartment lined with velvet. My heart stopped. Inside was a large envelope, yellowed with age, and a handwritten letter in Martha's careful script. Henry stepped back. "I think you need to read this alone, old friend." My hands trembled as I unfolded Martha's letter. "My dearest Walter, if you're reading this, then the chest has been opened, and you've found what I've protected for 43 years. What I'm about to tell you will change everything you thought you knew about our family. In 1981, my father owned 60 acres of farmland in what is now downtown Nashville. When he died, the property passed to me, but I was young and scared and didn't understand its value. A developer named Richard Holloway offered me $5,000 for the land. I was about to sign when his young assistant, a recent college graduate named Samuel Bennett, warned me privately that the land was worth far more. He told me Holloway was planning a massive development and that I was being cheated. I didn't sell. Instead, I held onto the land. 3 months later, Samuel asked me to marry him. That man was your father, Walter. The land remained in my family's name, held in a trust he helped me establish. Today, that 60 acres sits beneath Nashville's busiest commercial district. The buildings constructed there include the Meridian Tower, the Commerce Center, and the Davidson Street Plaza. The original deed, which I have kept hidden all these years, establishes perpetual ground lease rights worth approximately $42 million in current value. I never told you because I wanted our family to earn their way honestly. I never told Derek because I saw early what he was becoming. But Lily is different. Lily has Martha's heart. The deed is in this envelope. It belongs to Lily, held in trust until she turns 25. If Derek has treated this chest with respect, perhaps he's changed. If he's destroyed it, then you'll know his true character, and you'll know what to do. Protect our granddaughter, Walter. She's going to need you. All my love. Forever. Martha. I sat motionless for a long time, the letter in my hands, the weight of 43 years of secrets pressing down on me. Henry had waited outside. When I finally emerged, he took one look at my face and knew. How bad? My wife hid $42 million from everyone, including me. My son just smashed it to pieces in front of 100 investors, because he was embarrassed by handmade furniture. Henry let out a low whistle. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to do exactly what Martha asked. I'm going to protect Lily." The next morning, I sat across from Rebecca Torres, a Nashville attorney who specialized in trust and estate law. Henry had recommended her, said she was the best and the most honest, which didn't always go together in this business. I spread the documents across her desk. The original deed, Martha's letter, photographs of Derek destroying the chest. Rebecca examined everything with growing intensity. Finally, she looked up. "Mr. Bennett, this is extraordinary. Your wife was brilliant. The trust she established in 1981 is ironclad. Lily is the sole beneficiary. Derek has no legal claim to this property whatsoever, but Derek will fight it. He can try." Rebecca's expression hardened. "But I did some preliminary research on your son before you arrived. Bennett Development Group is in serious trouble. He owes creditors approximately $8 million. There are rumors of an FBI investigation into fraudulent investment practices. His company appears to be a house of cards built on other people's money. Derek's broke, worse than broke, desperate. And desperate men do desperate things." She pulled out another file. "I also found something concerning. Your son has been consulting with Dr. Harold Finch, a psychiatrist who specializes in competency evaluations for conservatorship proceedings. Dr. Finch has a reputation for finding exactly what his clients pay him to find." My blood went cold. "He's going to try to have me declared incompetent. If he controls you legally, he controls any assets you might manage, including Lily's trust, if he can argue you're unfit to serve as trustee." The trap was closing, and I hadn't even known I was standing in it. "What do we do?" Rebecca leaned forward. "We build an airtight case before he knows we're coming. I need independent medical evaluations proving your competency. I need witnesses to his behavior at the grand opening. I need documentation of his financial fraud, and I need evidence that he's an unfit father for Lily. Is there evidence of that?" I thought about Lily's flinching when Derek raised his voice, about the way she looked at me with desperate hope, like I was her only safe harbor, about the nanny who'd quit last month, the third one in 2 years. "I think there might be," I said quietly. "I think there might be a lot." That night, I called Lily's school counselor, Mrs. Davidson. We'd met several times at parent-teacher conferences that Derek never attended. She remembered me. "Mr. Bennett, I'm so glad you called. I've been wanting to reach out, but without parental permission, my hands are tied. What can you tell me?" There was a long pause. "I can tell you that Lily has been struggling. She's anxious, withdrawn, terrified of making mistakes. Last month, she broke down crying because she got a 92 on a spelling test. She said her father would be furious that she wasn't perfect." "Has Derek ever attended conferences?" "Not once in 3 years." Mrs. Davidson's voice tightened. "Kristen has come twice, but she spent both meetings on her phone. Lily has mentioned that her grandmother was the only one who made her feel safe. Since Martha passed, Lily has been lost." I closed my eyes, grief and anger warring in my chest. Martha had seen this. She'd known what Derek was becoming, and she'd built a safety net for Lily even as cancer was stealing her strength. "Thank you, Mrs. Davidson. I may need you to provide a statement soon. Mr. Bennett, whatever you need. That little girl deserves someone fighting for her." The private investigator Rebecca hired was named Marcus Webb, former FBI, with a reputation for thoroughness that bordered on obsession. Within a week, he'd uncovered enough to make my stomach turn. "Your son is running a Ponzi scheme." Marcus spread documents across Rebecca's conference table. "He raises money from new investors to pay returns to earlier investors. There's no actual development happening. The Nashville Riverside project he's been promoting doesn't own a single acre of the land he's shown in presentations." "How much has he stolen?" "Approximately $14 million from 32 investors, including retirement funds from elderly couples who trusted him because of your family's reputation." I felt sick. Derek had used the Bennett name, the reputation my father and I had spent decades building, to steal from people. "There's more." Marcus pulled out photographs. "Your son has been having an affair with Amanda Chen, his chief financial officer. They've been moving money to offshore accounts in Singapore. I found flight itineraries for next month, one-way tickets for 3 passengers. 3? Derek, Amanda, and Lily. The room went silent. He's planning to kidnap my granddaughter. He's planning to disappear before the FBI investigation goes public. Taking Lily gives him leverage and access to her trust fund once she turns 18. Or sooner, if he can manipulate the legal system from overseas. Singapore has complicated extradition, Rebecca said quietly. If he gets Lily out of the country, getting her back becomes nearly impossible. Marcus nodded. You have approximately 3 weeks before those flights. We need to move fast. The conservatorship petition arrived by process server the following Tuesday. I read it at my kitchen table, my hands steady despite the rage building in my chest. The petition cited psychiatric evaluation by Dr. Harold Finch, documenting progressive cognitive decline and erratic behavior. Witness statements from the grand opening describing confused and agitated conduct. Financial irresponsibility evidenced by obsessive attachment to worthless objects. Safety concerns regarding ability to recognize appropriate boundaries. Derek had weaponized my love for Martha's memory. He'd turned my grief into evidence of mental illness. I called Rebecca immediately. He's trying to take everything. My freedom, my home, my ability to protect Lily. He's also made a critical mistake. Rebecca's voice was calm, confident. Doctor, Finch evaluated you without your knowledge or consent. That's a serious ethical violation. And I've scheduled you with Dr. Catherine Williams at Vanderbilt, the most respected neuropsychologist in Tennessee. If her evaluation contradicts Finch's, his credibility is destroyed. When is the hearing? Derek filed for emergency expedited review. The hearing is in 12 days. 12 days. Less than 2 weeks to prove my sanity, expose my son's fraud, and save my granddaughter from being kidnapped to the other side of the world. Martha, I whispered to the empty house, to the photographs on every wall, to the memory of her hands guiding mine as we built furniture together. Help me protect our girl. The next 12 days became a blur of preparation, documentation, and quiet desperation. Dr. Williams conducted a 6-hour neuropsychological evaluation that left my brain feeling wrung out like a dishcloth. Memory tests, reasoning exercises, pattern recognition, psychological screening. When she finished, her expression gave nothing away. The evaluation results won't be ready until the day before the hearing, Rebecca warned. We're cutting it close. Meanwhile, Marcus continued his investigation. The evidence mounted like snowfall, quiet and relentless. He found Derek's offshore accounts, $3 million already transferred to Singapore. He found Amanda Chen's connections to international money laundering networks. He found emails discussing Lily as an asset rather than a child. The kid is worth $42 million at 25, Derek had written. That's worth tolerating for a few years. Amanda can handle the actual parenting. Reading those words, I understood that my son was truly gone. Whatever decent instincts he'd once possessed had been consumed by greed so completely that he saw his own daughter as an investment portfolio. Henry helped me restore Martha's chest. Working together in my workshop, fitting the broken pieces back together, felt like prayer, like Martha was guiding our hands. The hidden compartment was intact. The deed was safe. Lily's future remained protected. 5 days before the hearing, I got a phone call that changed everything. Mr. Bennett? This is Principal Morrison from Lily's school. We have a situation. Your granddaughter locked herself in the bathroom and won't come out. She's asking for you. I broke every speed limit between Knoxville and Nashville. When I arrived, Principal Morrison met me outside the bathroom door. We can hear her crying, but she won't respond to anyone except you. I knelt beside the door. Lily, sweetheart, it's Grandpa. I'm here. A long silence. Then small and broken. Grandpa? Daddy says I can't see you anymore. He says you're sick in your head. I'm not sick, sweetheart. Your daddy is confused about some things. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. The lock clicked. The door opened slowly. Lily's face was streaked with tears, her eyes red and swollen. Daddy said we're moving to Singapore. He said I'll never see you again. He said Grandma's chest was garbage, and people who keep garbage are crazy. I pulled her into my arms, holding her tight while she sobbed against my shoulder. Listen to me carefully, Lily. Your grandmother made that chest for you because she loved you more than anything in the world. It wasn't garbage. It was treasure. And I'm going to make sure you get to keep it. And that you stay right here with people who love you properly. Promise? I promise. And Bennetts keep their promises. You know that. She looked up at me with Martha's eyes. Grandma always said that. Bennetts keep their promises. That's right, sweetheart. That's exactly right. Principal Morrison had witnessed the entire exchange. She offered to provide a written statement documenting Lily's distress and her clear preference for my care. Mr. Bennett, she said quietly, whatever you need. That child lights up when she talks about you. In 3 years, I've never once seen her smile when discussing her parents. Another witness. Another piece of evidence. Another brick in the wall protecting Lily. The night before the hearing, I sat alone in my workshop, Martha's restored chest on the workbench before me. I opened it carefully, letting the hinges move smoothly, running my fingers over the wood she had shaped with such love. Inside the hidden compartment, alongside the deed and her letter, I placed something new. A photograph of Lily and me at the county fair last summer, both of us laughing, cotton candy on her nose. New memories alongside old treasures. Just like she would have wanted. Martha, I said to the silence, I don't know if I can do this. Derek has lawyers and money and no conscience. I have a restored wooden chest and the truth. The silence stretched out. Then, soft as a whisper, I heard the first notes of the music box I'd built for Martha 40 years ago, still sitting on our bedroom dresser, playing the tune I'd programmed myself. Amazing Grace. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe it was old mechanisms settling. Maybe it was something else entirely. I closed my eyes and let the music wash over me. The truth will be enough, I said. It has to be. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood-paneled walls, fluorescent lights, the quiet hum of institutional air conditioning. Judge Patricia Hernandez sat at the bench, her expression unreadable. Derek sat at the petitioner's table with his team of 3 lawyers, all expensive suits and confident smiles. Kristen sat behind him, her face carefully composed. I sat beside Rebecca, a folder of evidence in front of me, Dr. Williams's evaluation in my pocket. The hearing began with Derek's lead attorney, a man named Bradford, who spoke with the practiced ease of someone accustomed to winning. Your Honor, we bring this petition out of genuine concern for Walter Bennett's well-being. He presented his case smoothly, compassionately, citing Dr. Finch's evaluation, witness statements from the grand opening, my supposed obsession with worthless antiques. Mr. Bennett is clearly suffering from cognitive decline and emotional instability following his wife's death. He requires professional supervision for his own safety and the safety of those around him. When it was our turn, Rebecca stood slowly. Your Honor, the petitioner asks this court to strip Walter Bennett of his fundamental rights based on fabricated evidence and paid testimony. She presented Dr. Williams's evaluation. Mr. Bennett's cognitive function is not merely normal for his age. It is exceptional. Memory, reasoning, executive function, all in the 95th percentile or above. There is no medical basis whatsoever for this conservatorship petition. She presented the ethical complaints against Dr. Finch. Dr. Finch has been disciplined in 3 states for providing fraudulent evaluations in conservatorship cases. He is paid to find what his clients want him to find. Then, she dropped the first bomb. Your Honor, we submit evidence that Derek Bennett is currently under FBI investigation for securities fraud and embezzlement, totaling approximately $14 million. Derek's face went pale. We further submit evidence of offshore accounts containing approximately $3 million in funds of questionable origin. Bradford jumped up. Objection! This is irrelevant to the conservatorship petition. On the contrary, Your Honor. Rebecca's voice was steel. It demonstrates motive. Derek Bennett is drowning in debt and facing federal prosecution. His father is the trustee of a $42 million trust benefiting Derek's daughter. If Derek controls his father through conservatorship, he controls access to those funds. The courtroom went silent. Judge Hernandez leaned forward. Continue. Rebecca presented everything. The offshore accounts, the Singapore flight itineraries, the emails discussing Lily as a financial asset, Amanda Chen's involvement, the scheme to flee the country with Lily before federal charges were filed. As each piece of evidence landed, Derek's composure cracked further. His lawyers whispered frantically. Kristen's polished facade crumbled into naked fear. Finally, Rebecca called me to the stand. Mr. Bennett, please describe what happened at your son's grand opening party. I told the truth. Every word, every detail. The chest Martha had carved with her cancer-weakened hands. Derek's contempt. The moment he smashed her final gift against the floor while Lily screamed. Your Honor, Rebecca said, we have video evidence from security cameras. The footage played on a courtroom monitor. Derek's voice, loud and cruel. This worthless junk is embarrassing me. The chest shattering. Lily's scream. My quiet dignity as I gathered the broken pieces while my son laughed with investors. Judge Hernandez watched without expression. But I saw something flicker in her eyes when Lily screamed. Derek took the stand for cross-examination. Rebecca approached him slowly. Mr. Bennett, do you recognize this document? She handed him a printout. His face went gray. This is an email you sent to Amanda Chen 2 weeks ago. Please read the highlighted portion for the court. Silence. Mr. Bennett? Derek's voice was barely audible. The kid is worth $42 million at 25. That's worth tolerating for a few years. Rebecca let the words hang in the air. You referred to your daughter as the kid worth tolerating. Is that how you view Lily? As an inconvenience to be tolerated for access to her inheritance? Derek's composure shattered. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. The investors, the debt, the investigation. I did everything for this family, and no one appreciates it. My father sits in his workshop playing with wood while I build an empire. An empire built on stolen money, Rebecca said quietly. An empire built on lies. Derek's lawyer tried to intervene, but it was too late. The mask had slipped completely. I sacrificed everything! Derek was shouting now. My mother enabled him with her precious woodworking lessons while I worked 100-hour weeks. She left $42 million in a wooden box instead of helping me when I needed it. She chose him over her own son. The courtroom was absolutely silent. Judge Hernandez spoke, her voice controlled. Mr. Bennett, are you saying you knew about the trust fund? Derek froze, realizing his mistake. I knew my mother had something hidden. He tried to recover, his voice shaking. She always kept secrets. She never trusted me. But you destroyed the chest without knowing what was inside? I thought it was just sentimental garbage. I didn't know. Judge Hernandez nodded slowly. So, you destroyed your daughter's inheritance because you were embarrassed by handmade furniture. You planned to flee the country with her, to avoid prosecution. You referred to her as an inconvenience to be tolerated. And you attempted to have your own father declared incompetent to gain control of her trust fund. She removed her glasses and looked directly at Derek. I've heard enough. The ruling came down within the hour. The conservatorship petition was denied as frivolous and potentially fraudulent. Dr. Finch faced referral to the state medical board. Derek was ordered to surrender his passport pending resolution of federal charges. Emergency, temporary custody of Lily was granted to me, with a full custody hearing scheduled for the following month. As deputies escorted Derek from the courtroom, he looked at me one final time. Something beyond anger in his eyes. Something like grief. I built everything for you, Dad. To make you proud. And you chose a wooden box over your own son. I stood slowly, feeling every one of my 67 years. You built everything for yourself, Derek. Your mother saw it. I didn't want to, but she knew who you were becoming, and she spent her final months making sure Lily would be protected. The box wasn't worthless junk. It was the most valuable thing your mother ever made. And you smashed it because you couldn't see past your own greed. His face crumpled. For just a moment, I saw the boy he'd once been, the son who'd helped me in my workshop, who'd watched his mother carve with wonder in his eyes, who'd dreamed of building things that mattered. Then the moment passed. The deputies led him away, and I was left standing in an empty courtroom, victorious and heartbroken. Outside, Lily was waiting with a social worker. She ran to me the moment she saw me, her arms wrapping around my waist. "Grandpa, can I come home with you? Please." I knelt down, holding her face in my hands. "Yes, sweetheart. You're coming home. Forever? For as long as you need. For as long as you want. Forever and ever." She buried her face against my shoulder. "Grandma said you'd keep your promises. She always said that. Your grandmother was the wisest person I ever knew, and she loved you more than anything in this world. I know." Lily pulled back, her eyes bright with tears. "She told me before she died. She said, 'Lily, no matter what happens, your grandpa will protect you. Bennetts keep their promises.'" I pulled her close again, letting my own tears fall. "That's right, sweetheart. Bennetts keep their promises. Always." 6 months later, the wounds were still healing. Derek pleaded guilty to federal charges and received 8 years in a minimum security facility. Kristen filed for divorce within a week of his conviction and disappeared to Florida with whatever assets she could salvage. She never asked for custody of Lily, never even asked for visitation. The trust fund remained secure. $42 million waiting for Lily when she turned 25. I took no salary as trustee. This was Martha's gift, not mine. Lily and I donated the first $1 million to establish the Martha Bennett Scholarship Fund, providing woodworking and craftsmanship training to at-risk youth. Building things with your hands, creating something lasting, those skills had saved me. Maybe they could save others too. Every evening, Lily helped me in my workshop. She was learning to sand, to measure, to see the potential in raw wood. Her small hands growing more confident with each project. One night, as we worked on a jewelry box she was making for Mrs. Davidson, Lily asked the question I'd been dreading. "Grandpa, why did Daddy become so mean?" I set down my tools, choosing my words carefully. "Your daddy forgot what mattered. He thought money and success were more important than people. He thought being perfect was more important than being kind. By the time he realized his mistake, he'd already hurt everyone who loved him. Will he ever get better? I don't know, sweetheart. I hope so. People can change if they really want to. Do you still love him?" The question cut deep because the answer was complicated. I love the boy he used to be. I grieve for the man he became. And I pray every day that someday he'll find his way back to the person his mother and I raised him to be. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Grandma told me something before she died. She said, 'Lily, love isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about showing up even when it's hard.'" I stared at her, my heart breaking and healing at the same time. "Your grandmother was very wise. She said you taught her that. She said you showed up every single day for 45 years, and that's why she loved you so much." I couldn't speak, could only hold this precious child who carried so much of Martha within her. "Grandpa," Lily's voice was soft, "can we play Grandma's music box tonight?" "Every night, sweetheart. For as long as you want." That evening, we sat together on the porch, Martha's restored chest between us. I wound the small music box I'd built into the lid 40 years ago. An amazing grace drifted into the cooling air. Lily leaned against my shoulder, humming along. I looked out at the sunset, thinking about all the ways our lives had been transformed by a wooden chest and the love hidden inside. Martha had known. She'd seen what Derek was becoming, and she'd spent her final months building a safety net for the granddaughter she wouldn't live to see grow up. Every careful carving, every hidden compartment, every legal protection, all of it was love made tangible. If you're hearing this story, I want to leave you with one thought. Don't let money blind your heart the way it blinded my son. Derek had everything: a loving family, opportunities for success, a mother who sacrificed her own comfort to help him build his dreams. But he chose greed over gratitude. He chose pride over humility. And in the end, he lost everything that actually mattered. I've lived 67 years on this earth, and I can tell you this with certainty. God gives us people to love, not to use. Martha understood that. She spent her entire life serving others, her family, her community, and especially Lily. Even when cancer was stealing her strength, she was still planning to protect those she loved. The things we build with our hands will eventually fall apart. The money we accumulate will eventually be spent. But the love we plant in others' hearts, that lives forever. If you're a parent, love your children for who they are, not who you want them to be. If you're caring for elderly relatives, protect them from those who would exploit their trust. If you're struggling with greed or ambition, remember that no amount of money is worth destroying your family. Every evening when I watch Lily working in my workshop, learning to create beauty with her own hands, I'm reminded that I kept my promise, not just to Martha, but to God who entrusted me with this precious child. That's the legacy I choose to live. And that's the story I wanted to share with you today. If you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear this message. We're all just walking each other home. Until next time, this is Walter Bennett, reminding you that love is patient, love is kind, and love never fails. God bless you all, and thank you for watching.